because the worst thing that I can be is the best version of someone else. Even if that person is better than I am, it's still not me, and that takes energy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Road to Greatness. We are in a different spot once again, and I spent 11 hours with Chris Do at the Rise to Greatness event in Sydney. So I'm going to do my best to share some of the lessons and insights that I got from that experience in 11 minutes. Starting off, if anyone who doesn't know, Chris Do is the founder of The Future, an online education platform. He also has a background in creative design, directing, branding, marketing, and sales. And on that, the first lesson I learned from him is that branding is impression management. So essentially, am I the person that I present myself to be? And if not, why not? Why do I act or behave in a way that isn't aligned with who I am? Why? If I present as too perfect or disingenuous, people wouldn't trust me, and rightfully so. Okay, that's the whole reason why I'm trying my best not to look down and I have an iPad. Yeah, I've got notes. Of course I do. I don't want to miss anything. It was 11 hours of stuff. But getting to the point, the moment I present as someone that's other than myself crosses the line from branding to performing. And I see that very analogous to the difference between coaching and consulting. So a consultant is someone who tells you what to do and makes sure that you do it regardless of how you feel. A coach asks you questions about why you do what you do and helps guide you to make the aha moment yourself and come to the conclusion on your own terms. Two different things, okay? I can tell someone to brush their teeth, and if they don't, I will make sure that they do. Comparatively, I can ask someone why they didn't brush their teeth, allow them to suffer the consequences of not brushing their teeth, and come back to them saying, hey, do you want to go through that again? No. Right. So what are we going to do differently? I'm going to brush my teeth. And that's an example. That's how I see it. Okay? I'm not trying to put on an act to act as someone who I'm not, because that's not me. Branding is who I am and how I come across, how I communicate. That is what branding is. It's being authentic to me. It's letting you, or doing my best to frame myself up in a way that comes across as my genuine self. And to do that, I can't be humble. And humility is not desirable. That's lesson number 2. Humility is not desirable. Okay, the definition being low estimation of one's abilities or self-worth. And so adjacent to that, I believe, is doubt. Okay, being uncertain or having a lack of conviction. All right, and if we think of the opposite of humility to be arrogance, all right, the exaggerated sense of one's abilities or importance, no one wants to be called arrogant. No one enjoys the feeling of doubt in themselves. So why do we choose to be humble? Or said differently, why do we always play down how capable we really are? What story am I telling myself that justifies that belief? All right, and when will I change that narrative? All right, this aligns well with my own new reframe of being curious. I'm no longer questioning if I can do something. I'm looking to find out if I can. And if I can, great. If I can't, that's okay. Because one of my favorite poems, I guess, is Roosevelt's Man in the Arena. For he is better than the person in the crowd who has tasted neither victory nor defeat. That's a very, very paraphrased version of it, but you get the gist. And so I don't know what my potential is. I don't know how much I can accomplish, but I invite myself to discover and find out. So to kick off, branding is impression management, and being humble is not desirable. Following from that, I learnt about the components of a story. So the character being the person, this could be you or someone else. The want or desire, so what is it that you're after? And the obstacle, what's in the way of you getting the thing that you want? And outlining these three components comes down to asking better questions and listening intently during their response. All right, like who is the character? Where'd they come from? How did they get here? All right, what do they want? What does it look like? When do they want to buy? How do they want to get it? And what is in the way? How do they want to overcome that obstacle? Why can't they get around this obstacle? What does support from me look like to help you get it? Okay, making these questions as granular and as tactical as possible will result in a better response that I can ask more follow-up questions to and get all the information that I need to get a clear picture. Okay, like who are you? Right? What do you want? How can I help you get it? And why can't you get it yourself? That, I believe, helps me, especially as a coach, also as a consultant, but also as a coach. Why do you feel you can't get this thing? What component of your story dictates you not being able to get that thing? And I especially think about that in the context of clients who believe that they don't deserve something, who believe that, oh, I had an off week and so therefore I act in this way. It's like, well, why? Because I always have. It says, and you doing what you've always done has got you the results that you've always wanted? No. Right. So then how are we going to act differently in order to reach our goals? I've been really obsessed. Obsessed is probably too extreme of a word, but very intrigued by learning how to ask better questions or knowing what a good question is. And I firmly believe that being better at asking questions makes me a better coach because it means I can have more of these aha moments with clients in less time, purely from understanding their story better. Okay? And that, I believe, provides value, which leads to question or lesson number 4. A transaction is an exchange of value. Okay? This was referred to in relation to pricing people and ourselves, but I'm going to speak to the people and ourselves aspect, so not really on pricing. Okay, we get what we get and how we feel when we spend time with people that don't value us or ourselves is very different to people that actually value our time, our attention, and what we have to offer them. And so the transactions that we make ideally are with people who value the things that we provide to them. All right, and we be sure to do the same for anyone that helps and supports us as well. All right, this could be a friends, clients, coaches, family, role models. All right, treating these people like gold, because they set the standard for what you do and who you let into your life. All right, those were the 4 big lessons that Chris passed on to me. So again, running it back from the top, branding is impression management. Humility is not desirable. The components of a story and a transaction is an exchange of value. That is what 11 hours of Chris Stowe looked like. Nothing to do with creative design, or most to do with creative design, but a lot to do with my identity and making sure that I'm doing things that actually align with me. Because I could sit here and try to optimize for likes or optimize for engagement, but I'm doing this to give you guys an insight, to connect with who I am. And again, lesson number 1, if all I'm doing is performing, I'm putting a gap between you and I don't want that. And so I hope that I am presenting as the person that I believe myself to be. I certainly have replaced humility with curiosity. I hope this helped you understand the components of the story and potentially get you asking better questions, and that an exchange of value is more than monetary. So with that, I hope you got some value out of this episode of Road to Greatness. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you all next week.